Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Sarah here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Chris, and he's selling his Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Welcome to the show, Chris. How you doing today?
Great. How are you, Sarah?
Doing great. Good to have you here. Looking forward to talking a little bit more about your business. Before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. So this is an Amazon FBA business in the gifts and occasions niche, created in December 2016. The average monthly revenue of this business is $121,955, and it has an average of $27,677 per month in net profit, and that is based on a 12-month pricing period. Included in the sale of the business are Amazon Seller Central account and 95 SKUs, domain and all site content and files, 3 trademarks, social media accounts of Facebook, and SOPs. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47101 to learn more about the business or place a refundable deposit to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing. Now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's dig into the interview. So, Chris, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
I've actually been doing this since I was 16 or 17. I started making AdSense websites. Like back in the days of MSN Messenger, I had websites where I created content for MSN Messenger and like emoticons and things like that. And I made money off of AdSense. And then I moved on to do eBay. I also had my own e-commerce websites. And then finally with this business, I got into Amazon, and that's where it really took off.
Cool. So how did you come up with the idea for this business?
I had wanted to try FBA for a while because I heard good things about it. And I was developing my own e-commerce websites, and I was having like a little bit of trouble. It became a lot more difficult with the Google updates. Like, not that I wasn't making money, but I found it was a lot more difficult to do the type of stuff I was trying to do. So I decided to try Amazon, and it really worked out much better than I had expected even.
Cool. Well then, yeah, I mean, you've got a pretty big Amazon FBA business here on your hands. I'm curious, like, why do you think Amazon FBA is such a good business model for those like interested in online business?
I think in the end, Amazon controls, 50% of the e-commerce volume. So it's kind of hard to fight against them. Like, you can make your own website and definitely you can have a lot of success. But in the end, a lot of people are looking to buy on Amazon these days. Like, their system that they've set up, they've invested billions of dollars in it. They have very good logistics, shipping, very good customer service. So it just makes everything easier to not fight against them and actually just basically join into their system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me, the niche that you're working in, why did you choose this niche?
It's kind of a strange story because some of the products we source, well, actually, we don't source anything from China, which I think is a bit unusual. So we source products from some Eastern European countries and also even from the United States. So our main product that we started in the beginning comes from my business partner's country, like where they're from. So that's basically how we got the idea to start. And then from there, we just started other products from similar countries. And yeah, so.
Cool. So why are you selling the business instead of keeping it and growing it?
It's kind of a hard decision, but I'm starting some real estate projects and I really could use some capital to invest in that. That's also taking off. So that's basically the reason why.
Very cool. Exciting stuff. Would you say there's anything you learned from this business that you'd apply to future sites or businesses? What did you learn from building this that just seemed to really work for you?
Well, I sell primarily in Europe. It's like the biggest marketplace for our business. And I found it worked really well to go after low-hanging fruit. So basically something that generates enough sales and enough profit, but that's not extremely developed or competitive. And I really try to avoid like hype products, like fidget spinners and these type of things that are just like a trend for a while and very competitive and with tons of sellers from China where you don't make very much money. So basically that's the recommendation I would make.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Well, would you say there's anything you tried that, say, didn't work?
Well, originally I had dealt with China for a long time. And so I contacted some of my suppliers from China and they would recommend like the latest product, like I mentioned before, like fidget spinners or whatever was going on at the time. So I tried to sell these type of products in the beginning on Amazon, and it just didn't work, or it broke even, or it was just like a bunch of problems with people leeching on the listing. So for me personally, I would avoid these type of products that are super competitive and super, overdeveloped.
Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Well, that leads me to my next question then. What advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you'd known when you'd started?
I can only speak for myself that I tend to overanalyze and overthink things. And I think that can be a challenge in business, that you just have to try something. I'm not saying that you should buy like 50,000 euros of products and invest a bunch of money without doing your due diligence or without really understanding the business, because even Amazon FBA is pretty complex business. But you have to at least start. I think that's the most important part, because most people don't actually start. They spend a lot of time researching, overanalyzing, buying courses, and they don't actually do anything.
Exactly. Analysis paralysis, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the term. I definitely get that. So you have this business and it's running across Europe, as you said. Tell me more about how you get inventory to Amazon. And I know you said you're sourcing not from China and from elsewhere. So just talk to me a little bit more about that.
So basically, we source the products from the suppliers, and we have an intermediary warehouse in Bulgaria for Europe. So all the products go there. And there's extra like prep and packaging inserts and things that get put into the products there. And then it gets shipped either to the UK or Germany for Europe, and then also to the US, because we do also sell in the US. And we also sell in Canada and Japan, but it's fairly insignificant.
Okay, cool. So talk to me about what you're doing in terms of marketing for the business and, where the majority of your traffic is coming from.
To be honest, the majority of it comes from Amazon itself and from PPC campaigns. But since we're in niches that are not super competitive and oversaturated, we're able to maintain good percentages for PPC. Like we don't spend excessive amounts of money on it. We get returns from using Amazon PPC. And we do have a website, we do have social media, but we haven't developed it to the level that we could. We just haven't had time. We've had enough opportunities just developing on Amazon that it wasn't even worth our time. But I think it could be worth it in the future for a potential buyer to develop that as well.
That makes sense. I think that's a really good growth opportunity for a buyer. Well, speaking of growth opportunities, what are the major opportunities for growth? And, if you were to keep this business, what are some ways that you would be trying to grow it yourself?
Well, we started all of the products in Europe first, especially in the UK. And we haven't expanded all of our product lines to the US even, or Canada and Japan especially. So immediately any buyer could expand the product lines to those marketplaces and started to earn more money. Also, some of our suppliers have other SKUs that we haven't even launched. So that could also be potential money that would be fairly easy to do, because you wouldn't have to take a risk with any new suppliers or anything like that. Also, as I mentioned, I would recommend to build up the website and social media presence, because actually our brand has a lot of searches. I know I've seen the traffic that people are searching specifically for the brand, both on Amazon and in Google. So I think it's an opportunity to at least get some sales outside of Amazon and to build up the website.
Okay. Well, we always try to cover both sides of the coin here. What would you say are the biggest risks with the business that a buyer should be aware of?
Without a doubt, it would just be Amazon itself, because as it's a huge opportunity and it's definitely worth it to do the Amazon business, in the end, even a business our size is an ant or a microscopic piece of dust for Amazon. So if something happens, there's always the risk that they could suspend your account and you would have issues with that, like trying to get your account reinstated. I think that's the biggest risk in general with Amazon that you can't know. Obviously with our business, it's been running for years, so we haven't had any problems and we're not selling products that violate Amazon's policy. But in the end, it's just something that people have to be aware that dealing with Amazon is not always the easiest thing in the world. And in the end, you are relying on them for your business, essentially.
Right. That's a good answer. Now, moving on to a bit of a different subject here, can you tell me more about the amount and type of work you do on this business for maintenance? I understand that you have a VA helping you guys out. So walk me through that.
Yeah, now we have several employees helping us out with the business. So personally, I'm not spending as much time as I did, obviously, starting, maybe a few hours per day, checking things over and supervising the employees. So we have an employee who deals with all of the sourcing, because it's one thing in our business that the sourcing is a little bit more complicated since it's not from China. So we have an employee who speaks like different languages and who can deal with the sourcing and logistics and bringing the products from the suppliers to the warehouses, get things prepared, and then shipping it to Amazon and everything like that. And we also have an employee dealing with all of the account issues with Amazon, PPC, new listings, like different issues that come up with Amazon cases and things like that. So in general, I would say it's quite hands off. So I would expect like a new owner to spend maybe 2 hours per day at the very, very most.
Okay. And, if a buyer is hoping to keep the same team in place, is there potential for your current team to maybe stay on with a new buyer?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And if not, it's very easy for me to find new people to do that. Like, it's no problem. Like, I can train new people or whatever they need.
Great. Well, what skills or requirements might there be for someone not familiar with this niche or business model?
It would be useful if they at least have some e-commerce knowledge, because in the end, even though the business is being run essentially by the employees, I think it's really important as a business owner to at least understand the fundamentals of what's going on. And our employees are really good and really responsible, but still it's somebody who's employed, who's getting a salary. It's not an actual owner. So they're never going to be as concerned of every single thing in the business as the owner themselves. So I would recommend that they understand like a little bit about how Amazon works and how like FBA works. And it would also be useful if they have some knowledge of marketing just to be able to grow the business and understand what's good and how to sell products and this type of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So Chris, how much support are you offering buyers?
So I remember originally I agreed to 90 days, but I'm really flexible on this. I don't mind to help the new buyer out for, longer than that time. Obviously, like I can't be running the business for them or spending like 5 hours per day doing training or things like that. But I'm really open to helping them, and I really want them to be able to succeed with the business once they purchase it.
Awesome. Would you commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once I sell this business, I'm going to move on and do other projects that I already have going on. So that's no problem for me.
Okay. And are you open to something like an earn-out?
Yeah, I'm open to different possibilities. Of course, it depends on the terms and the price and everything like that, but I'm flexible in terms of different options that they might have in mind.
A few personal questions here. Is there anyone who inspired you while building this business that our listeners might like as well? So that might be like podcast or Facebook groups or a YouTuber, just, or maybe even someone personally that you have, but just someone that might be like a resource for our listeners.
Well, I actually do like business and self-development podcasts. So some of the ones that I listen to are the Jordan Harbinger Show. I also like Tropical MBA and Tim Ferriss as well, the 4-Hour Work Week, and some of his books and his podcasts are also interesting. It doesn't really specifically relate 100% to Amazon FBA, but I think it can be useful for running a business, and I would recommend it.
Yeah, thank you for that. Our listeners, sometimes they'll write in the comments and, ask for more specifics. It seems like people really like to hear what our business owners are listening to. So that's cool. Would you say there's any software, tools, things that really helped you out while running this business that might also help our listeners?
Well, initially I didn't use any software, but now we rely on different software like Feedback Wiz for managing feedback. We have Seller Legend to do like our monthly accounting and keep track of a bunch of different metrics. So those are the two main ones that I would recommend.
Okay. Was there anything that drove you and motivated you while having this business?
Well, basically, I wanted to be location independent, and I wanted to have a serious business that was generating enough income that I didn't have to really be concerned about having like a 9-to-5 job or being stuck in a specific location. So like that was my motivation to really push this business and build it to what it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. So putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
Well, first of all, I would say that the products that we sell are high profit. So this is really important. Like in the future, new competitors come onto the market or things like that. There's a lot of room to cover that risk. Second of all, these niches are growing every year, as you can see when you look over the numbers, which is also important that you're not buying a business that's actually in decline or a trend that's like going down. There's a lot of money left on the table with this business where you can increase sales by expanding into new markets or selling products that we sell in Europe that we haven't moved to the US yet. So immediately you can increase sales and recover the money that you spent to buy the business. Also, something that's really specific to this business I think would be really rare is that we don't rely on China, which, I mean, I don't have a problem with China. I've worked with China for years, but in the current climate, there's a lot of issues with working with China, a lot of instability, like new tariffs in the US and, all these problems happening now, coronavirus, different things like that. It's just really rare, I think, to see a business that has like nothing to do with China. So maybe this could be interesting to some person or company or whatever that they rely heavily on China to just diversify themselves with this business.
Well, Chris, this has been a great conversation. I think I've run through all of my questions. Is there anything else that I might have missed you'd want to add?
No, I think you covered it really well. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you as well. I'm really excited to see how this one plays out for you. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. To check out more details on the business or place a refundable deposit, visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47101. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. By placing a refundable deposit, you'll be given everything you need to know about the business and can start your due diligence. Until next time.